look, there is no universe where I don't like this movie. The universe does not exist.
I knew I was going to like the movie, but the question was how much was I going to like the movie? Was I going to give it 100% approval rating on Adam Hall Tomatoes or whatever?
Yeah.
No. Chances are probably not. But, I've been proven wrong before. So
yeah. Martin Scorsese is very important to both of us. Martin Scorsese is very important to everyone that loves movies. And I think, like, if you go into this movie cold, having not seen a Martin Scorsese movie, it doesn't mean as much to you. I kind of think, like, Goodfellas is a prerequisite, although they're different stories in many ways. This thing is a spiritual sequel to Goodfellas and comments on some of the stuff that Scorsese did in Goodfellas. That's not to say it's a sequel, but it is kind of ironic, that Scorsese has been bashing reboot culture and has been bashing the Marvel Cinematic Universe, how every story is the same. And this, in a way, he's playing with the same ideas. Like, I think Marvel at its best looks like The Irishman, right? It is the same story told again, but in a different way, commenting on itself. From like a very aged but introspective set of eyes. Sure.
It's essentially what this is. Because I had that same feeling watching it basically for the entire 3.5 hours. I was like, this is that same story. I'm very, very familiar with it. The only trick here is that it's a little more aware of it, I guess.
Yes.
So, which I deeply appreciated, and it kept the movie very, very entertaining. And this movie hit a weird like phenomenon for me, where it's like to me, I thought it was very fast and very, very entertaining, and I was never bored.
Never bored.
Every time I checked the time, though, it was slow. I would check the time. I'm like, I'm an hour and a half into this movie, and I check it, and I'm an hour in, and I'm like, oh, whoa, okay. And then I did it again. I was like, okay, I'm at least 2.5 hours, and then I was just below 2 hours, and I'm like, what? It was very confusing, which is why I will say, like, yeah, it's a 3.5 hour long movie, and it does feel its length, but that doesn't mean it's not thoroughly entertaining the whole way through.
Yeah. Oh, it certainly feels its length. But I found that experience to be kind of enamoring. I fell into the rhythm of the movie. I mean, part of it is going and knowing that it's going to be 3.5 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
But it moves, though. It really does. It's not boring. And it's a sweeping epic, for sure.
Oh, I was just about to say that. It's an incredible epic, and it's amazing that it exists at all, though. I mean, you have to... I can't really take this for granted. I mean, this is never going to happen again.
No, it's not. So. Here's my take, right? The movie is flawed. Some of the choices are weird. The de-aging thing didn't bother me in the way that I thought it would, and that, I think, is the consensus online. I don't know about you.
Well, the first half bothered me, and then basically by the time, I guess by the time Jimmy Hoffa is like, I want to say like the point where he raises the flag. Then I started to be like, all right, I guess I'm in it now.
Okay.
I wasn't really distracted by it at that point, but I think that's also because the characters had got to a point in their age where the de-aging wasn't nearly as distracting.
Yeah, I wasn't able to figure that out. If it was just that we were adjusting to it or the aging actually got better.
Well, because the point when they have that ceremony for Frank, like that was like seamless to me. But I even think there was de-aging going on in that scene.
Yeah. There was everywhere. Yeah. And also, the first half when Pesci and De Niro meet each other at the truck stop. Yeah. It's just like two uncanny valley creatures speaking.
Well, a lot of it is also not just because of their faces, but their physicality.
Right. This is what I wanted to say, yes.
It's all wrong. And it's most evident when Robert De Niro goes to the convenience store clerk and tries to beat him up. And I'm like, ugh, it's not good. Right. Like, that was really bad.
Yeah. They did not make any effort to use a body double.
Yeah.
And that would have helped, I think, because although the face looks young, the body still moves like an 80-year-old man.
I know.
So that was unfortunate.
At a certain point, it's fine. Like at a certain point, I was like, okay, he's older now. It makes a little bit more sense. But I just remember being like, the movements of this guy at this age are just completely wrong. It's like it's very distracting.
I think they might have hired some like posture experts too.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't work at all. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I guess it could have been worse, though.
No, yeah, absolutely. I will say that's the other thing. The movie, for me at least, got better and better as it went along.
Certainly.
Yeah, because at first I was like, well, I've seen this story literally 1,000 times before. And then once I started to fit into its groove and understand what it was saying about its genre and these characters, I was like, yeah, okay, you know what? It's really, really endearing. I really loved what this movie's doing. So yeah.
Yeah. So first hour, I think, is the weakest. When Pacino shows up, it definitely, there's a little more energy to the movie, and it's much needed. And then that last hour is just spectacular.
Yep.
And I think
agree.
like that might be the film of the year if you just have the last hour of this movie on a shelf.
Oh man, the last hour is so interesting.
It's really, really good. So here's the point I want to make though, right? If you haven't seen Goodfellas, I'm not sure this movie means as much to you. If you don't know who Martin Scorsese is, I don't think this means as much to you. If you don't know who De Niro and Pacino and Pesci are, I don't think this means as much to you, because the movie is not only commenting on its mobster characters, but it's also commenting on the careers of these people. Scorsese here, and I guess to a certain extent Steve Zalian, who wrote the script, are reflecting on a career that may have been lost. Although like these two men have done incredible things in show business, the movie ends on this note of why and what's the point. And like, if I'm Martin Scorsese, I'm not sure I think about the world in the same way, but I'm not Martin Scorsese, and that's what he's reflecting on. He's reflecting on the stuff that he didn't pay attention to, the relationships that perhaps suffered because of his work, the work that was not perfect, the work that he wished he did. It's hard to imagine a guy like that having regrets, but he certainly does have regrets.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I saw a particular reviewer, I forget who it was, say that Goodfellas could only be made by a man that age, and The Irishman can only be made by a man that is the